find that the clavicle is slightly elevated and press down on it. It's going to actually, the pressure, can you feel that? Say it's an unstable AC joint. Then I'm going to test for the humeral head. I'm going to find the acromion and park my finger on top of the humeral head and roll off. So that feels pretty good. And then I'm going to roll his humerus with slight extension, and that's how I'm going to check the rotator cuff. That's what's going on underneath my fingers. There's the bicipital tendon, but also the rotator cuff, right? Then I'm going to come down here and contact the medial epicondyle of the humerus and find, lo and behold, a tendon that's really tight. I'm going to press down the clavicle. It's called clavicle compression test. And I'm going to hold it for a few minutes. And as I'm doing that, the tendon or triceps totally relaxes. And then I let go, and it starts to come back up.
Now, what is it? That's just giving pressure on the
Just
AC?
yeah, we're pressing down on the clavicle. We're calling this clavicle compression test. And for him, it softens up the triceps. Now, we don't have any known complaints here, but this is the thing, is if we have pain here, pain deltoid tuberosity, pain at the elbow, or pain in the hand, and that clavicle compression test relieves those or improves any of those, then it's positive for AC separation, AC joint subluxation. Okay? So for instance, a lot of times with this, if deltoid tuberosity is pissed off, that tendon, you can feel how ropey the muscle is right there. And then I do that, press down the clavicle, and this all softens. Okay? Now, that's the first part. The adjusting of the AC joint, I'm just going to give you a tapper. So the adjusting for the AC joint is pressing down on the clavicle and then tapping on the clavicle with a tapper. Right? Now, the humerus adjusting, anterior, inferior. I'm going to actually bring the shoulder up and stabilize the shoulder with the other hand and bring the humerus up into the glenoid fossa, because it's anterior, inferior. If it's posterior, I'm coming in and putting my thumb off the shoulder blade into the back of the humeral head and then tapping. That's for posterior humerus. That's when I find, when I come off the acromion, I don't have a humeral head there. You come down, it's flat. That means the humerus has gone posterior. It should be sticking out so you can park your finger or your thumb on it. That's normal. Now if you can park two fingers, a thumb plus, then the humerus has gone too far out. And you want to bring that back in. That's anterior and inferior. Posterior shoulder, humerus, you can't find it. So you're going to come in from behind and press it forward. And you can do all this with the drop pieces too, but we're going to do all the testing in here, not the drop table room. All right, evaluation the elbow. I'm going to turn towards me so you're not heavy. So I want to extend the elbow, find the ulna when the arm is bent, extend the elbow, and I want to see if the ulna tucks, and we do not have a tucking elbow. So there's the top of your, it's almost as thick as my finger, how much of his ulna is sticking out when the elbow is extended. Right? So then I expect to find all these tight, right? All these muscles, because they're doing their job, they're trying to hold him down. I'm going to move over here, and there's the top of his radial head. So I can feel the top of his radius, posterior and lateral to the capitulum. Right? So that's the evaluation. Now, on the draw test is, I'm going to take his arm above the elbow, stabilize it, so when I pull on the ulna, move your hand around. Does that feel any different? Now, when I'm pulling on the ulna, I'm not pulling on the shoulder, which we know is injured. Okay? So he feels loosening in the wrist and hand when I'm doing the ulna draw test, which means the ulna's out of place, which my palpation pretty much brought to light anyways. But I find that this is good because for the patient, when they feel the loosening of the elbow, the loosening of the wrist with the drawing of the ulna, that tells them, patient, that this problem is related to this problem. Because if they continue to do things, lean on their elbows, carry stuff, put the baby right here, you're going to continue to have problems. They've got to know the connection between these parts. So these tests sometimes are meant to actually give the patient the understanding of what's going on. So that's the ulna draw test. Then you're going to show me how to adjust the ulna humeral joints. And so the tapping would be from, this is a posterior ulna, so that you draw down the ulna with your fingers and then tap. Okay? Posterior radius, you're going to roll the radius medially and tap. All right? Then the wrist inspection is that you're going to go and do evaluation of the smoothness of the carpal bones themselves and do a general range of motion of the wrist, and that I can just feel too bad for having us all that place. So then the adjusting for that would be either with the activator or you take the stylate processes, cross your thumbs, do a distraction, and right? Then the next one is thoracic lumbar adjusting. So again, we're not going into the drop table room, so you're going to show me how you would set up on someone's thoracic or lumbar with a tapper, and you're going to contact the spinous process that's rotated. You want to tap it towards the midline, take the opposing transverse process on that segment and tap it anteriorly. Right? Same procedure down the line here. Okay? That is the spinal adjusting, and then you got the knee evaluation. So can I have you on the table here for a second? Face up. Yeah, which this is knee. Oh no. Yeah, this is right here. So I'm going to say, evaluate the knee, and you're going to tell me I'm looking for the condyles, I'm looking for the tibial plateau. So that bump right there is the intersecting condyle. So that means your tibia is posterior because that is present on both sides of the patella. So it was only on the medial side it'd be rotation, right? But the fact that I can put the top of your tibia on both sides of the patella tells me the tibia's gone anterior to the femur. Okay? Now, I'm going to roll down the medial side of the femur, and I find the condyle, the medial condyle. So that means the tibia has gone lateral as well as anterior, right? In this scenario, I expect to find a fairly tight gastrocnemius, right? And there it is. Yeah. Those muscles are doing their job. They're trying to hold them together, right? That's a building code violation right there. So then we have adjusting of the knee. So then you would have a speeder board. I think Kristen's asking a question, but she's not.
Oh, no.
She's filming. People want to say, what? What?
She's reasonable.
All right, so then you would just show me how you're going to set up and tell me how you would drop it. So this is the anterior tibia, which is what, then I'm going to put the speeder board underneath the femur, the roll underneath the femur, and drop on the tibia. Okay? And I'll just say, set up for a posterior tibia or anterior tibia or lateral tibia, whatever. Okay? And you're not going to do it because you know, right? So then, and then I'll just tell you, that would be wrong. Okay? You want the roll on top of the speeder board. And I want to say that because we've had this happen. And I'll just say next. Okay? So that's the adjusting of the knee, evaluation of the knee, and then evaluation of the lower leg. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to start with I'll start with this one over here so you can see it better. I find the fibular head, and I roll behind the fibular head. If I can find a big space there, it's tender, then the fibula subluxated. I'm going to do now what I call the fib-tib squeeze test. All right, and that's really tight right there. And then I'm going to squeeze the fibula to the tibia, and that softens up. I can come down here to peroneus, which is pretty tight, right? That softens up, right? So the fib-tib squeeze test can be done for pain anywhere in the whole lateral aspect of the leg and underside of the leg, the big toe. We were just talking about that earlier today. That
Are you squeezing and distracting?
I'm squeezing lateral to medial. I have a tendency to also want to pull down.
Because it's mostly always going to, that fibula is always going to
The
go
injury is
superior.
mostly because of gravity and the way we do stuff. Although again, I had a patient come in, I think it started being in class. She woke up and the car was split in half and she's hearing the paramedics talking about they think she's dead. So when those kind of actions happen, all bets are off. Right? Athletes, soccer, track and field, it's all pounding with the fibula going up.
Yeah.
Right? Foot on the brake, fibula's going up. Cement mixer, all bets are off. I mean, that's what you have to think about. Or she went over an embankment, you know what I mean? That's, right? All bets are off. Bicycling, when you're going ragdolling, which you've been, again, I think all bets, same thing with skiing. Your body's just ragdolling, all bets are off. You've got to figure out what the hell happened. You weren't there, so I call it forensic chiropractic. You ask yourself, what are you looking for? What am I looking for? I'm looking for a fibular head. I want to know if there's a big space back there, and there's a big space. I can fit 2 fingers in there. So in my opinion, that's posterior and superior and lateral, right? Because if it goes, again, because the tibia, the way it's shaped, it's angled on the underside of the plateau, and that's where the fibula is. So any upward force like that's going to force that fibula to go up that slanted part of the tibia, but also separate, right? And that's make a list of all the muscles that attach to both bones, and it's basically the whole thing that operates your leg and foot. The whole thing. The whole thing. If like peroneus doesn't attach to the tibia, it attaches to the fibula, to the fibula and the interosseous ligament. So if the interosseous ligament is stretched, it still affects that muscle group. All right. Now that's the fib-tip squeeze test, and then the adjusting of the fibula. We can do 2 things. One is the speeder board. So you would just tell me to contact the fibular head, pressing down and in and adjust, or you take the spring-loaded adjusting instrument and come in. I'll do this from the side you can see here, and bring it in and down and tap. Okay, so there's 2 things: speeder board, SLI. Then we have the foot evaluation, and I'll try to do this so you guys can see this here. That sore right there. All right, so then let's go ahead and take the shoe off here for a second. So I'm going to find, let's say, is that sore right there? So I'm going to press the calcaneus towards the midline. Does that change the pain where my thumb is? Okay, so that's a calcaneal draw test. Talar draw test, is that sore right there? Ropey. If I do that, push the talus anterior, does that change the? Yeah. Yeah, and then I let go. See, there's the underside of your mortise joint. So that means your talus is posterior. Actually, again, I think the whole foot's posterior. If you think about that, right? If the talus is posterior to the mortise joint, to the whole lower leg, I think the whole foot's gone posterior.
Follows with it.
Yeah. So that means all the tendons, top and bottom and side, all have a level of distress. Right? And that distress will be up in here through too, because these guys come down here and anchor to, right, the foot and ankle on their way to the toes, or midfoot. And so that displacement pattern's got to be upset for all of them. And then the adjusting the calcaneus is speeder board, drop, and adjusting the talus. If this is a posterior talus, you're dropping on the leg. If it's an anterior talus, put the leg on the foot, put the leg on the board with the foot off, and then drop on the foot. Right? Does that make sense? If I can feel the top of the talus sticking out here, I'm going to do that. Right? Now, metatarsals, I got 2 ways I can do it. Coming underneath this way, right? Or you can flip over. I put the speeder board on the edge of the cuneiforms and then drop on the metatarsals. All right, so there's 2 ways to do that. I consider this, like I said, the more aggressive way. So I'll do this after like 4 or 5 office visits where I'm doing it the other way. All right. So
what's the setup for the other one again?
The setup for the other one is on your back. And I'm going to take my fingers and curl them up underneath the base of the metatarsals, just inferior to the cuneiforms, and then drop on. My contact's going to be on the top of the foot on the cuneiforms, and the underside with the other hand is the underside of the metatarsal bases. And I do that until there's no line there anymore, until it's all smooth. All right? I won't feel any line between the cuneiforms and the midfoot. I want that nice and smooth.
And then what part of the body is on the speeder board?
My hand is on the speeder board.
Okay.
The foot is off the speeder board.
Okay.
And again, for some people, this is exquisitely painful. If you find that you really can't do that, I really don't find that many people that can't handle this. The next thing to do is come in and just grab the foot and go after it with the tapper, with the SLI. And just do that, okay? Until you have a level of sensitivity that's dropped. Again, I've had people come in and the whole lower leg and foot is swollen. They've had all the cardiovascular stuff. They're not a congestive heart failure. This is total musculoskeletal dysfunction of the lower leg, ankle, and foot.